Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Heather Teplitz with the National Apartment Association. I'm the Director of Supplier Relations. So I manage the expos for NEA events along with their sponsorship program. So we appreciate your time. We've hired Jefferson Davis with Competitive Edge. He's been working with the NEA team for a handful of years. He actually comes to our events and does evaluations and provides a lot of great content and feedback for us to improve our shows from year to year. So today's topic is from trash to treasures, how to get more bang for your promotional product spend. So we appreciate you guys taking the time to be a part of this webinar. It will be recorded and we will share it on the Exhibitor Resource Center later this week, so you can share it with your teams. Speaking about the Exhibitor Resource Center, if you go to the Apartmentalized Conference website under NEA Exposition, click on Resource Center, and there are online how-to exhibiting articles, Ask the Trade Show Expert, questions and answers, and also live and replayable webinars from the past. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jefferson, as I mentioned earlier, and he's going to be guiding you guys today. And yeah, any questions that you have for him or I, feel free to send through the portal. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Heather. And again, thanks to everybody for being here. You've probably seen me around the trade show circuit. I feel like I've been doing it forever. Been at the NAA, both the student housing, the former student housing, which is now Campus Connects, and Apartmentalized for several years now. It's always awesome seeing you out on the show floor and watching you execute your exhibits. And if you ever want to talk trade shows, you can reach me through the Exhibitor Success and ROI Center here, or you can connect with me directly on LinkedIn, my trade show blog, or call me or email me. I'd love to talk shows. All right, so the subject matter of today's webinar is a new one, a new topic, and it's one that creates a lot of controversy. You know, I like to call it swag or not to swag. And so when you think about how a lot of companies select and use promotional products, as you see in the picture here, the question is, how much stuff should we bring, right? I mean, in this example, I see a USB drive, I see pens, I see magic markers, I even see a beach ball there. I have no idea where they're going with that. And another example of USB plugins and pens and notepads and these little yellow guys here, I don't even know what those are, with the blue fuzzy heads on them. And so we've done now over 23,000 exhibit evaluations. And I think there's a better, more focused, smarter way to use promotional products than most exhibitors are now doing. And that's what we want to kind of take a deep dive on today and help you give this, which can be a pretty important topic, give it a little more thought, give it a little better execution. So I want to start off with a poll, everybody on today's webinar. I'd like to know how many of you on the webinar today currently use promotional products. The poll is live now. Click the radio dial button that applies, yes or no. And I'll give you just a moment to do that. Okay, you guys are fast. We're at 90% polled, and the answer is that 96% of you are currently using promotional products. So I think everybody's in the right session here at the right time, and this will be pretty useful what we talked through today. So let's start off, I think, with the big question is, you know, really, what is the role of promotional products in exhibit marketing? Well, the first thing is it's almost become a cultural expectation, you know, of attendees. They go to shows and some of them walk around, they carry a bag. Some of them carry 2 bags, and they're going up and down the aisle and they're filling up their bags. You know, but the question that I think that we've got to be asking, which is answered very eloquently here in the Dogbert cartoon here, is you can see what's happening here. He walks up to the booth, hey, what kind of stuff you got? Okay, throw her in the bag. I'm on my way. I don't think that's the best use of them. You know, I wonder where those bags end up. In fact, I was just at a show last week in New Orleans, It was interesting because I was in the men's restroom, and I'll be darned if sitting right on the sink, somebody had left their bag of swag. So I don't know how much value that was delivered, with that approach. So that's really, when you say the first role is, everybody just thinks it's a cultural expectation, and they think, well, you need to bring them. That's just how it is. I'm not so sure about all that. The second is to me, the smarter use is to not only encourage but reward attendees for engagement with your demonstrations with your staff. So we want to use them, if we're using them smartly, not as a bunch of stuff laying out on the table to fill your bag and go, but more to create physical engagement in the booth. Used properly, they absolutely have proven their ability to increase and drive booth traffic. So another role. Number 4 is brand awareness. If you select the right product that has staying power, it really helps keep you visible and top of the mind. I'm looking around my desk right now, and I'm going to talk about some of the promotional products as we get into this. But I see on my desk 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4 products that are right on the top of my desk that I'm using quite frequently. One of them I'll show you later, which I thought was junk when they first gave it to me. But when I got it back to my office, I'm like, that was a really useful promotional product. And every time I pick it up, I'm looking at the company's name here. Reinforcing a marketing message. I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement, on our part as exhibitors, to connect the promotional products to a message or a theme. So we'll talk about that as we go through too, and give you some ideas and some examples that can stimulate your thinking on how to better tie your promotional products to not only build that awareness, but also reinforce a message. The customer relationship, some companies today are using tiered promotional product strategies where they'll have their general tchotchke that they give to anybody who happens to, come to the booth. Then they'll have a mid-level that they're given to prospects that are in the sales pipeline, and they may even have a higher level promotional product that they're given to reward customer loyalty for visiting the booth, add to the relationship. Rewarding customer loyalty, all of us today are probably part of some form of an ongoing customer loyalty program. It might be something as simple as the mileage that you get by using your credit card, airline mileage or whatever. And that's just an example of, rewarding loyalty. But I think we can also be using promotional products to do that. And number 8 would be to create post-show visibility, memorability, and recall. And so you can see there's a lot of really good uses and a lot of roles the promotional products can play. So we want to kind of sharpen the saw here and figure how to better use them. Okay, don't know if you're familiar, but there's an association called PPAI. This is the Promotional Products Industry. I apologize, I don't remember the exact name of it, PPAI for short. And you'll notice on the screen on the left here, they have a page called Research. And so I went and pulled some of the latest research I could find on what's happening with promotional products. And the first thing you'll notice is that in 2016, it was a $21 billion industry. And as many shows as I go to, I feel like maybe half of that or more was spent by the trade show world. So there's a lot of money being thrown around in promotional products. And you can also see the growth curve of them all the way back from 1974 through the end of 2016. PPAI did not have the 2017 report uploaded yet. Okay, so you can see that it's really growing and a lot of money is being spent here. And so I think we're all asking, how do we make sure that our spend is smart and it's not just ending up in people's garbage cans. Some of the research on the impact of promotional products, I think there's a lot on the screen here. I'm not going to hit it all, but resonance down in the bottom left, you'll notice that 82% of people have a more favorable impression of the brand when they receive a promotional product. You'll notice also that the reaction to the receipt of the product, not 79% say that they further researched the brand, and 83% said they were more likely to do business with the brand. 81% said that they actually keep promotional products, some people as far as 11 plus years. I've got a pen holder on my desk that I picked up at a show. It's a really nice marble one, and I'm playing with it right now. I've had it 15 years, and every time I look at it, the company that gave it to me is right in my face. So longevity is a big thing. What's interesting is you'll notice that millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, and the silent generation, the number one most effective form of advertising to prompt action across all the generations is promotional products. So there's some really strong reasons to be doing this. There's a lot of strong data here to back up the investment. And if you want to learn more, again, you can go to ppai.org, and there's a lot of great content up there. Here's another thing I was able to find in terms of where the dollar's going. You'll notice that in 2016, that the number one category was wearables. This would be clothing, shirts, uniforms, hats, jackets, neckwear, footwear, and so on. Number two is writing instruments, and number three is bags. Now, I'm going to go a different course here in terms of how I would think about selecting them. Is I don't want to give away what everybody else is giving away. So for me, just because these are the most popular doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the most effective. So I think we'll all have to kind of sift through all this content and figure out, answer some big questions, and make a really smart choice, which I'm going to walk you through in a moment here. So now we have a sense of how big the market is. We have a sense of the research on the impact, and we can kind of see, what the most popular promotional products are. Okay, technology-related items were the fastest growing category. Everybody's walking around with smartphones and iPads and technology. So, technology products, things that, it might be like one of the stick-on wallets on the back. Maybe it's a stick-on wallet with a finger ring on it. I'm seeing a lot of those. I was just at a show recently where the company was talking about security, and they were giving away a little cover for the camera that's on your notebook computer. So, people aren't watching you. So there's a million things, but technology related, anything that's going to tie into technology, something as useful as like a charger, a battery pack. I was at a show recently, my phone was running low, and a company had that as a giveaway, and wow, they gained a lot of visibility in my eyes because I wasn't in a place where I could stop and set for 20 or 30 minutes and charge up my iPad, and they had a one of those small battery packs, and wow, what a great giveaway, right? Extremely memorable, extremely helpful. So what makes a great promotional product? If there were some keys that we could use that would really drive effectiveness, well, number one, to me, I would say unique. You don't want to get lost in the crowd. I mean, how many branded pens can an individual have? So I'm looking to be unique. I want something that stands out from the crowd, okay? And then second, useful. It's always better if it's something that they can physically use in their business, in their day-to-day operation, practical. Number three, it's got to be high quality. I don't want to give away junk, neither do you. The worst thing that you could have happen is to give away a cheap pen and have that pen explode in somebody's pocket. They would remember you for sure. I don't think they would remember you in the way that you want to be remembered. So go for unique, go for useful, go for quality. Number four, as we mentioned before, the ability to have the promotional product support a message or a theme. This really increases the effectiveness of it. And number five, which I'm going to get into a little bit more, is personalized. If if you have the ability to customize or personalize the promotional product, not only will the response rate to your marketing campaigns go way up, but the recall of the product will go through the ceiling. So those would be my 5. And, there's a lot of experience on this webinar here today. So any of you who are with me today who say, hey, I would add a 6th or a 7th key on there, go to your question queue right now and type that in. I'd love to share that with the group. But these are the big 5, I think. Unique, useful, quality, directly supports a message or theme, and when possible, the ability to personalize the promotional product. Okay, now let's talk about distribution strategies. Promotional products for me fall in the category of a reward for responding or a reward for doing something. So I want to hit, the 5 specific reward strategies that can tie around promotional products. The first one is the contest, right? Drop your business card here for a chance to win whatever. To me, of all the strategies, the contest is the weakest one. The reason being is, does anybody really win? Is it handpicked who wins? So the contest is the weakest. And by the way, does anybody on this webinar, anybody listening today, know a friend of a friend who has won the Publishers Clearinghouse giveaway? I've been asking that question for 15 years. I have yet to find a human being who, has said, yeah, I know John or Mary or Michael that won it, and the theory says we're 5 degrees separation from anybody in the world. So the big idea here is, and by the way, if you know somebody, I would love for you to submit that in the form of a question too, because you'll break my streak here. But the contest, right? Contest is, hey, if you got nothing else in, maybe a contest. Probably the least effective in terms of all the strategies. Number 2 is the free gift at the booth. Good strategy here, but if you just put a bunch of tchotchkes in a bowl on your table and it's a hit and run thing where they walk by, grab and go, I don't know that that's really going to have much value. I would rather dangle my free gifted booth in my pre-marketing, and I would rather distribute it selectively to people who have responded to my marketing. And when I do that, I can use the tell them strategy. Hey, give us 5 minutes at the booth. You'll see, you'll learn, you'll do your get. Oh, by the way, we got something cool waiting for you at the booth. And I'll tell them what it is. Or you might even tease them. Not tell them what the reward is, but just say, hey, we got a really cool reward waiting for you at the booth. It's something you're going to find useful in your day-to-day operation, and create that anticipation. So tell them or tease them if you're going to do the free gifted booth strategy. Number 3, send it in advance. There's an old saying that if you want heat from the fireplace, you first have to put wood into the fire, the fire pit, and then you got to light it up, right? So by sending it up front, it can be positioned as as our way of saying thanks for coming by in advance. We got this for you here. Create that little sense of, oh yeah, I at least got to stop by and say hi to these guys, right? So send it up front. Number 4, this is my absolute favorite strategy. This is my go-to. To do a good targeted pre-show marketing campaign and then send them half of something, the other half's at the booth. This has tremendous pulling power. I've pulled as high as 75% response to this strategy, and I'm going to show you a couple of these, how we did this as we move through the content here. But if you really need to hit it out of the park, send them half up front, the other half's at the booth. It's extremely effective. Number 5 is that if you are, let's say you're a relatively new company and one of your goals are to increase brand awareness and build top of the mind presence, then number 5 might be the right strategy for you, where you send something in advance, you offer the companion or the other half at the booth. And then after they visit your booth, you're sending something post-show. I'll give you an example of how I ran this strategy with a client. It was a food testing laboratory in the Pacific Northwest. We were exhibiting at the Northwest Food Processors Show several years back. Brand new lab, not known to the industry. We were targeting food processors, within the Pacific Northwest. So we sent out an invitation to come visit us and learn about our lab services with it was a packet of coffee. And the coffee had our branding on it. And we said, oh, by the way, when you come by our booth, we have this cool crystal coffee mug waiting for you at the booth. And then when they came to the booth and to get the mug, after the show, we sent them a handwritten thank you note with a leather coaster with our branding on it. So the coaster goes on the desk, the cup goes on the coaster, the coffee goes in the coaster. That was a really effective campaign. We had a 45% response. 45% of our target visitors showed up at our booth. And what was interesting, within a brand new startup company, within 1 year in the market, we had 40% of the food processors in the Northwest were customers. Now, here's the question, right? Did the coffee and the mug and the coaster get us the business? And the answer is no. But what it did do is it grabbed attention, it created attraction and engagement, and it put us top of the mind. So when they had a food testing need, we were right in front of them. So I want you to think about right now with these 5 strategies, how do you currently distribute and which of these do you think might help you take your promotional product strategy to the next level? Okay, and again, number 4 is, I'm going to detail that, but that's my absolute favorite. Okay, so let's keep rolling. Now, when we get into promotional products, some unique strategies to consider: renewable or refillable type gifts. This is a really smart play. I'll give you an example of that in a moment. Reference guides, resources that they can keep on their desk to refer to best practices, government regulations, whatever, right? Reference guides are really powerful and useful tools. So here's an example of a simple renewable or refillable strategy. Post-it notes with your branding. Everybody uses them. They're on top of the desk. And so what if, as part of your campaign, when they came to your booth as your way of saying thanks, you said, hey, oh, by the way, I want to give you this Post-it pad. And what if every 60 to 90 days you set up a program that automatically delivered additional Post-it pads? Now, this is a small pad here that is branded on the top, but you can get these in the larger blocks that have your branding on the side too. So this can be a really smart strategy. There's different things. Harry and David, the fruit and candy and cheese, and there's a lot of different refillables out there where you can give them something at the show and then have it auto refilled or renewed with some repeat frequency over the course of a year. Super great way to stay top of the mind. The reference guides might be something along this line. Here's an example of a field guide for apartment management. And so maybe you already have, or maybe you can create a best practices when screening tenants or keeping your building, to avoid maintenance problems, or whatever it is that you do. Maybe you can create some form of a reference guide that would really keep you top of the mind. Useful tool. Here's an example. I also have one of these. I'm spinning I have this one in my drawer, but I find it real useful. It's just a little pen, and it spins open, and it's got all kinds of different You can hear me playing with it right here. It's got all kinds of different screwdriver bits in it. And I use this thing all the time. And every time I do it, guess who's in my face? The company who gave it to me, which interestingly enough, is an NAA exhibitor. I'm not going to mention her name, but it is an NAA exhibitor. Great giveaway, useful. Here's the thing that I picked up over, I think it's been over 10 years now at a trade show, and it's on my desk right now. It is the date finder wheel. I'm in a very date-driven business, and this has been an absolute priceless, and this thing probably costs pennies. And I'll be honest, when they first gave me this giveaway at a trade show, I thought it was a pretty bad giveaway. I thought, oh, geez, really? This is cheesy. Here I am 10 years later. I use this thing every single day. So could you be applying a renewable or refillable strategy as a way to stay top of the mind with your customers or your prospects? Could you be authoring or publishing a industry intelligence or a reference guide? Or is there some kind of a tool when you think about who your target audience is that they would carry on their keychain, or they would have on top of their desk, or they would use with them? I'll give you another example. We were at the World of Concrete recently, which is a big construction show in concrete. And a company had a great giveaway for concrete people. It was it measured the width of cracks in concrete, and it went right on their chain, their keychain. So I thought, what a great giveaway, right? These guys are out there every day on job sites. They're looking for problems with concrete. They have this little device. It slides in. It tells them how big the gap is in the concrete. I thought it was a fabulous giveaway, completely useful, very practical. Okay, so some strategies to consider. All right, so let me take a look in the question queue. Some of them, I mentioned earlier. So someone said timely or trending would be, maybe they might add as a sixth strategy. Fidget spinners were the hot ticket last year. And strangely enough, I was just at a show where a company was giving away a pen with a fidget spinner. I don't really mess with those, but what was funny was I brought it home and I tried to give it to my 17-year-old daughter, and she said, I would never be caught dead with a fidget spinner. That's just her, right? But, I certainly agree with your addition is timely, timely, what's hot. But again, chances are that if it's really hot and everybody else is doing it, it's probably not going to have as much uniqueness and value. Next question, how far in advance would you suggest sending your pre-show marketing? Now, we do have a complete webinar on the NAA Exhibitor Resource Center called State of the Art Exhibit Marketing, which takes a deep dive on this. That being said, I would start with my one-to-many, like print, web, and all that. I would start about 3 months before showtime. And then as I started to go into my one-to-one pre-marketing, which is direct mail, phone, email, LinkedIn, social media, more one-to-one social media, then I would start in the 6 weeks before showtime, and I would try to land at least 3 direct touches before you get to the show. And ideally, I would want those 3 touches to be different media. So you might mail them something, you might connect with them on LinkedIn, and then you might email them or in-mail them through LinkedIn as you get close to the show. Okay, so thanks for the questions, and keep them coming too. We've got a little bit of time left here. So, okay, big idea right here, okay? I don't want you at my booth because you want something free, all right? Because one of the problems with the promotional products is, the way I like to phrase it is, what you use to attract is who you'll attract. For example, if you give away food, who are you attracting? Hungry people, right? If you give away beverages, whether it be coffee, tea, smoothies, bottled water, who are you attracting? Thirsty people, right? If you have a contest, drop your card in the fishbowl to win, a GoPro or whatever, Who are you attracting? Contestants, right? Somebody who wants to win something, and maybe Dogbert said it the best way of all. He's saying that, your booth's got to be attention grabbing. You could do magic tricks, special effects, raffles, or booth babes. And Dogbert said, combine all four and create the illusion that you're raffling off the booth babes, right? So funny, but what you use to attract is who you'll attract. I don't want just anybody at my booth, and I certainly don't want them at my booth because they want something free. I want them at my booth because they have a problem I can help them solve or an opportunity that I can help them seize. Therefore, my positioning in any promotional product will be to state my business reason to come to my booth first, and then say, oh, by the way, as our way of saying thanks, we've got something for you. So lead with your business prop and use the reward on the back end. Don't come out and say, hey, give us 5 minutes at the booth and we'll give you a $25 Starbucks card. They're going to be at your booth because they want the Starbucks card, which is the reason I don't want them at my booth. Okay? So primary versus secondary reason for response. How much should you invest into promotional products? The Center for Exhibition Industry Research recently released the 2017 Where the Trade Show Dollar Goes. And you'll notice that 5.2% of the budget is spent in on-site promotional materials, and promotional products would fall under that category. 3.9% was off the floor. So I'm looking at that 5.2% and believing that there's a percentage of that that's being allocated toward the promotional product. Okay, so the first thing I would think about as I think about my promotional product strategy is, what is a customer worth to me, right? So if I have a customer that's worth $100, then I'm going to be willing to invest $1 or $2, maybe, right? If I have a customer that's worth $100,000, I'm going to invest more, but I can't go too high. You got to stay clear of anything that smells or feels like a bribe. Okay, so, and I believe there was a Sarbanes-Oxley was an act that kind of said around $25 is, kind of around the limit, if you will, in terms of, a promotional product or some form of a giveaway. There may be times when you can go a little higher, but think about the value of your customer. Number one, start there. Then once I go, oh, a customer is worth X to me, now I'm going to assign an allowable marketing cost per customer. And this is a different way of thinking about marketing. Most businesses will say, we allocate 10% of our revenue toward marketing. Businesses that are really starting to own their marketplaces are flipping the switch and going with what we call an allowable marketing cost. So they would say, based on the value of the customer, over time, through all of our marketing expenditures, we are willing to invest up to X, right, to bring this customer in. And that might be, if you have a $25,000 sale, over time, that might be $250, to $2,500. Now, obviously, that's not all being used on promotional products, but that includes media, messaging, and everything else. But I'm using the allowable marketing cost as another way to think about my budget. Then I'm going to carve a small percentage of that allowable marketing cost for my promotional products. So if my total was $250 that I could spend to bring in a customer, I might allocate $25 of that toward promotional products. Okay, and then big note here, make sure that you read the exhibit service kit, the exhibitor service manual and kit, and look at your exhibitor agreement for any show regulations regarding the use of giveaways. I know one thing for sure is at NAA, they can only be distributed within your booth space. So you can't be running around out in the aisles, with a backpack and just handing stuff to everybody. The distribution has to happen from within your booth. So those are some ideas to get you thinking on how much should you be investing and how to carve up the dollar. All right, let's talk about tying it to a message, right? Okay, so as a starting point, you want to consider the demographics of your target audience. The National Apartment Association has a predominantly female audience. So as you start thinking about, what promotional products you might use, let me see, I think I might have had something up here. I was just, Googling around before we started the webinar today, and I went most popular promotional products for females, and, found this site popped up, emery boards, the phone ring, sanitizer spray, travel bag, tissue packet, lip balm, stuff like that, right? Here's a freestanding pocket mirror, which would be useful, right? A spoon, a measuring spoon, right? You'd be seen all the time if you ended up in the kitchen. So spray sanitizers, whistles, whatever. You can kind of see where we're going with this. So think very carefully about the demographics of your audience, okay? Now, let's start connecting the dots of kind of tying it to a message, okay? So for me, when I exhibit, I market a service, okay? And one of my themes is success is measured by the companies you keep. How do you measure up? So what do you guys think would be a good promotional product for me with that kind of a theme? Success is measured by the companies you keep. How do you measure up? Somebody go to your question and type in what you think might be the obvious promotional product. I'll give you a moment. Do that now. On 3, 2, 1, I'll show you. A tape measure with a calculator and a Post-it pad. This is the actual giveaway that I use. And I not only use it in my pre-marketing, say, hey, give me 5 minutes at the booth. I'll show you how to reduce the cost of customer attrition. But I also use the calculator and the Post-it pad during my interaction in the booth. I physically hand it to the attendee. I ask them 2 questions and have them type 2 numbers into the calculator, and I have them write the number down on the Post-it pad. So I build the need, and the promotional product is tying right into that message of measuring and reducing the cost of customer attrition. Natural. And it's amazing. I give these away. I have people send me pictures of them using. One guy sent me a picture of him measuring a fish that he caught with my measure. I was like, wow, pretty cool. How about this? Let's say you're in insurance or some form of where you protect or cover people. What do you think might be a natural giveaway for that? Well, what about a branded umbrella, right? Very useful, especially if it happens to be raining at the show when you're there. Okay, so hey, don't worry about this or that. We have got you covered. Tired of standing out in the rain with your competition? Step under our umbrella. Great example. We've got you covered. Here's another one. Let's say that your value proposition is how you personalize your services. You've got a very custom or personalized approach. So what about this? A business card holder that you engrave their name on. Now, I've actually seen this one pulled off at a show, and I talked to the exhibitor who did it. He had a 52% response. He mailed out the business card holder to a select list of people before the show. He said, bring this by the booth, and when you brought it by the booth, he had an engraver that would engrave your name on it. Now, I wonder how many of you listening to this webinar, if you were going to a show and you got sent that business card holder and they said, hey, bring this by the booth and I'll put your name on it, I wonder how many of you would go to that booth. My thought is probably 80% or more. Okay, so these are examples of how you can start kind of tying into a message. Okay, we've got success is measured, we got you covered, personalized service. This is all to get your brain thinking. I know you're going to come up with a million ideas after this webinar on how to do this. Okay, here's another example. This is one of my all-time favorites. Okay, we were selling intraoral cameras in the dental industry. Our target visitor was dentists. They, at that point, were 80% male. They work banker hours, Monday through Friday. It's a pretty high stress industry, being in people's mouths all day, and the majority of them were golfers. So we put together a campaign. We rented the pre-registered attendee list. We pre-mailed to 300 pre-registered dentists for the Chicago Dental Show. We said, give us 5 minutes at the booth. We will show you how to cut your consultation time in half, double your case acceptance, and get your insurance claims processed faster. Oh, by the way, we have 99 more of these waiting for you at the booth. So we went out and we were able to buy for $6.50 per 100. We bought sets of 100 golf tees for all 300 dentists. How'd the campaign work? Hold your seat. We mailed it out by regular mail in a number 10 envelope, had a lump in it, said a personalized CDS invitation for Dr. Michael Jones. We had 178 of the 300 dentists show up at our booth. 72 had the golf tee in hand. That was a successful campaign. Our average sale amount for intraoral cameras was $25,000. For a $7 investment, our booth was filled with dentists. And remember how we framed it. This was not the primary reason. We said, oh, by the way, as our way of saying thanks. We got 99 more of these waiting for you at the booth. Now, any of you on this webinar, if you're a golfer and you got an invitation like that before a show and your name was on that golf tee and there were 99 more tees waiting for you at that booth, I wonder how many of you are going to that booth. My answer, my hallucination is the majority of you. Okay? Here's another example. When we're targeting C-level executives, one of the strategies I've used very successfully has been pencil us in for 5 minutes while you're at, and we will send them a personalized, remember we're talking personalized here, pen and pencil set. We'll often send this by priority mail. There will be a one-page written, well-written letter of invitation with a request for appointment. Okay, and their name is engraved on the pen and pencil, but there's a big hole in the box. The pencil is in their box. The pen is at the booth. Response to this campaign, targeting C-level executives in the baking industry, 75% response. 3 out of 4 that received it showed up at our booth. Guess what we did in both of these examples with those who didn't show up with the tees and the pen? After the show, we called them up and said, hey, we're going to be in the neighborhood. We'd like to drop by and just drop off your tees or your pen. Would that be all right? And guess what we did? We walked in and got post-show appointments. So another example, pencil us in, personalized pen and pencil set. One more for the road here, a baker's dozen, if you will. Okay, I was working with a company in the material handling industry who really has the next generation of material, you know, like lift trucks that people use. They do a thing called AGVs, which are automated guided vehicles, which is the next generation. And so we came up with a theme that your material handling future is so bright, you're going to have to wear shades. And prior to the show, we sent them a letter of invitation. Take a closer look at your material handling process with us. Inside the box was a sunglass case holder. The sunglasses were at the booth. We had a nice pair of sunglasses waiting for them at the booth. 60% response to this campaign. Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground here. Let's wrap all this up, give you some action items and take some questions and let you get on with your day. Hopefully this webinar has inspired you to give more careful thought to your giveaways on how to use them so they don't end up in the trash, but they become treasured from the people that you send them to. So here we go. Number 1, define your target customer, the age, the gender, the workplace environment, right? Then the value of the customer. Are you chasing a $1,000, $5,000, or $50,000 customer? Okay, then think about how much you're willing to invest per customer, you know, to try to get in their mind and on their agenda. Then think about your key message and see if you can't tie your whole story into a well thought through message. Something like success is measured by the companies you keep. How do you measure up? Then select a product that is really going to fit into that budget and best support both your message and speak to the demographics or the psychographics of your target customer. Try to find something unique. Again, uniqueness is where it's at. I think it's the best strategy. And then think about how are you going to let people know about the promotional product. I like to not have stuff laying around for grab and go in the booth, but I like to do targeted pre-marketing and say, give us 5 minutes to solve this, learn that. Oh, by the way, I got this waiting for you. How are you going to distribute? Are you physically going to have them setting out? Or are you going to have them in a secure place and only give them out, one-to-one? How are you going to distribute them? And then think about, is it something they're going to use, and will it stay visible? It's fine to give away like plush stuffed animals and things, but the problem is if they're grabbing stuff to take home to their kids, the minute it hits their kids' hands, it's gone. They're not going to be seeing it, So they may gain a little bit of goodwill with their child because you gave them a free kids gift, but I wonder if they're ever going to really connect the dots that, oh yeah, it was this company that gave me that promotional product. Okay, so let's take a look in the question queue. And while I do that, Heather, any add-ons or thoughts or closing comments on your behalf? Okay, Heather is actually at a conference right now for NAA, so she may have be back in the conference. So let me see what we got for questions. The main thing was how far in advance. I'm not seeing any other questions right now. But remember this, the conversation doesn't have to end now. You can continue to submit questions on the Ask the Trade Show Expert, which is on the Exhibitor Resource Center. So on behalf of Heather and everybody at the National Apartment Association and me, Jefferson, here at Competitive Edge, thank you so much for logging in. Hopefully you've gained a couple insights and ideas that are going to help you make sure that your promotional products don't end up in the trash, but become treasured items for your customer. Thanks for logging in, and have a great day. We will see you online, and we'll see you at Apartmentalize very soon. Have a great day, everybody.